Before we start this episode, on Force Toast, a Star Wars happy hour, episode 42, Laura and Alice of that show, who I love, by the way, were kind enough to accept my sequel trilogy trivia. I got them to mention Ochi of Bestoon. It was a really good time. Check them out if you haven't already. They're just incredible. And thanks, guys, for taking my trivia. To this very exciting episode now. Let's go. Hello there! So, wow, we just got back from what was one of the best moments I've had ever recording this podcast right now.
Oh my gosh.
We just got back from our panel at ForceFest. Oh
wow.
My goodness, what you're about to hear is an hour of just utter glee.
Yeah. We had a step up.
Yeah, we had a bunch of stuff
in discussions.
We did a bunch of discussions in the chat, all of that stuff. I got to bring up Ochi of Bestoon, which is always.
I learned a lot. I learned a lot from
we referenced Legends way too many times. Yeah, a lot of the stuff it has to do with Legends that we're talking about. Really cool panel that we did. And I'm sorry about this, but we don't have a this month.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's pretty much it. Hope you guys enjoy this. And as always, we got to do this at the beginning because we didn't really get a chance to do it at the end. Follow us on Anchor, Breaker, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Radio Public. Anywhere you get your podcasts, you can find us. Also follow us on Twitter. And yeah, may the Force be with you. Enjoy
also
this.
Make sure to follow ForceFest.
We enjoyed it. Yeah. And this was incredible. And we will see you guys next week. Next week, what do we have, Jacob? It's even more exciting, I'd say.
Next week, we have a very special guest, Meg Dowell.
Meg Dowell is joining us.
Starbird Dawn podcast.
And she's also the founder of Project Stardust, which is a website celebrating female inclusion in the Star Wars fandom. And she's also an associate editor at Utini, which is an incredible organization designed to introducing Star Wars fans to the books and comics. And so we're incredibly excited to have her on next week. And so stay tuned for that. See you later.
Yes.
We'll do some more of this as more people trickle in. But hello, everyone. I'm Eli.
I'm Jacob. Welcome to...
we are the hosts of Star Wars in a Galaxy. The Star Wars podcast where we watch all the Star Wars we can get our hands on. And what are we doing today? Jake?
Today we're doing Star Wars opinions. So give a in the chat or in a minute we're going to unlock some spots if anyone wants to come on. We're going to be talking about, we have some discussion questions prepped, or if anyone has like questions, comments about Star Wars, give us your hot takes.
Yes, give us your hot takes.
Opinions.
We did an episode about this. It was like, I don't know, it was in April. We posted in April where we did Star Wars opinions, where we asked each other 5 opinionated Star Wars questions, and we discussed it on In a Galaxy. Speaking of In a Galaxy, actually, I'm going to post a link if you want to check out our Anchor page right here. Here we are. I just posted the link to our Anchor
Adam
page
in the chat.
Thanks
for being
here. Just quick plug. Check us out on all of the stuffs. We have Twitter. We have, and we're on everywhere you get your podcasts. We're there. Before we start, do you have anything to say before we go to the ground rules? I guess you could say.
They're good. Just a reminder, make a wish for the greater LA. Get Vocal is matching 33% of all donations made through the Get Vocal Vcoin system. So be sure to check that out if you want to make a donation. It's really awesome. Great cause. Yeah.
So what I was going to go with was yeah, I think before we do, I just want to lay down. I don't think this is going to be necessary, but just in case, you know, we want to keep this. You know, one of the best things I've heard about Celebration, and I've been to Celebration once myself actually, and I've experienced this, and so one of the best things I've heard about Celebration is that's the opposite of like Star Wars Twitter. Star Wars Twitter can be a great place, but it can also be a pretty toxic place, as I have, and as many others have learned firsthand, and just
That's
generally the internet. So yeah, you know, it's not to say you can't dislike stuff. This entire podcast, one of the foundations is like, oh, I love Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker, and Jacob doesn't as much. But you know,
today we're
just don't be toxic.
Keep it positive.
Yeah, just keep it respectful. You know what I mean?
Yeah, keep it respectful.
Yeah, that's our definitely. One disclaimer before we go. I want to. Can we start with one of my questions? We got prepared a couple questions in advance.
Fire away, yeah.
Okay. So, if you could write like the next Star Wars Disney Plus show, you know, they're releasing a lot of their new content on Disney Plus. You know, we have Mandalorian, and then we've heard about Cassian and Kenobi and the Bad Batch, and all these people are doing Disney Plus series, and there have been rumors about people getting their own Disney. If you could design your own Disney Plus series, then what would you design it around? What would the plot be? We're welcoming the hot takes in the chat, and let's open the spots now so we can hear.
Yeah, if anyone wants to step
for
up.
Me,
if you don't feel comfortable, just say it in the chat.
For me, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna talk about one of mine that I was talking to you about earlier, Jacob, which is a TV show which is episode 0.
Episode 0.
Basically, it would be really cool to see a TV show about all the events that led to the blockade of Naboo in The Phantom Menace. That's one of my pitches. And we could see how the Republic was bogged down in corruption. We could see Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan going on their final mission. You know, we saw in Season 7 of Clone Wars on Urbana, Obi-Wan and Anakin's final mission before they go to rescue the Chancellor. And I would be interested to see, I'd be interested to see Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan's final mission before they're tasked to negotiate a trade deal with the Trade Federation.
So it would kind of be about would it be about like the politics of the Republic and the Jedi?
Yeah, it would be, yeah.
Kind of, but it would include Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon.
It would include Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon. They should totally bring Liam Neeson back. I'd love to see him.
Yeah.
And I'd also love to see Terrence Stamp, I'm pretty sure is his name, as Finis Valorum, and stuff like that. That's just one of my pitches.
Yeah.
In the chat, or grab a spot, or if you don't feel comfortable doing that, go type it in the chat. Either just one of your hot takes,
if you want, yeah.
or your opinion about like what a cool Disney Plus show for Star Wars would be.
While we're waiting on anyone to do that,
yeah,
I'm gonna
go
say,
ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
I would do. This is probably something that quite a few people might say. I think I would do something for a Rebels follow-up show, something where, because you know how Ezra and Thrawn got transported by the giant space tentacle squid whales to the to the unknown, ostensibly to the unknown regions, we can assume. So I think a show involving the unknown regions, getting to see the Chiss ascendancy.
That'd be cool.
Yeah,
I'm
getting
excited
to see the
because we
ascendancy.
got Chaos. Hello. I just wanted to say, following up to Jacob's idea, and then I'd love to hear your thoughts. We're getting that new book in about a couple weeks, which I've ordered, Thrawn Ascendancy, Chaos Rising, which is the part of the new Ascendancies trilogy, which is going to show a lot of that, so I'm excited for that. Go ahead. What's your hot take or answer that question?
Great. Yeah, I was just sitting and watching you guys, and you were saying you wanted people to actually add in, so here I am.
Absolutely, yeah.
Thanks for putting on the panel. I think the Chiss idea sounds great, but I was thinking a great how about a show about like the Cloud Riders from Solo? I'd love to see that.
Yeah,
Interesting.
That sounds awesome.
See,
I think that would be.
I'm drawn to the epilogue. There's an epilogue of the Solo novel which shows Enfys Nest, and the Cloud Riders bringing a lot of their coaxium that Han got for them to Saw Gerrera and Jin's by him, and so which really shows that they are a part of the growing rebellion. And so I'd be really interested in how that go. Yeah,
me too. I'm interested in even hearing about that. So he brought, if Enfys Nest brought the coaxium to Saw Gerrera, is that how Edrio Two Tubes got hooked up with Saw Gerrera in the first place? Because you might remember he was in Rogue One and he was one of the Cloud Riders. If you know that obscure character that I'm obsessed with,
I don't know.
I do know Two Tubes from Rogue One and from Rebels, and I didn't know he was in Solo, actually. I knew, what's his name? Weasel. Weasel's in Solo from Phantom Menace.
That's the one I really want to see. I want to see a whole show about
the story of Weasel. Look, everyone's got their Star Wars obsessed thing. Jacob can... Rofamor in the chat says Benthic. It was actually Benthic in Solo.
Oh, really? Was that Benthic? How do we know that, Rofam boy? I want to know more about all of that.
Wikipedia,
I don't know
let's go. I was just thinking to myself, like everyone has their, I like to say everyone in Star Wars fandom has their favorite background character, and your background character really does, I'm a big fan, as Jacob can attest to you. I'm a huge fan of Ochi of Bestoon from The Rise of Skywalker. And there we did it. We got the bet done. I have now successfully mentioned Ochi of Bestoon once.
Oh, Ochi. Yeah.
Yeah.
Rural Farm Boy says they weren't dressed the same.
He has a little Lobot ring around his head, doesn't he?
I think he did, yeah. The funny thing is, I love that, this is how bizarre my tastes are. It's like I have... It's like my favorite background character in Star Wars. We never see present day alive. We just see his bones, and then we see
a brief flashback of him.
Of him stabbing Rey's parents. Yeah. I was suppressing myself because in any normal situation, I'd actually say the series I'd love to see is an Ochi of Bestoon led Final Order series. I was suppressing that because Jacob would go crazy. But no, seriously, the episode 0. Any other thoughts about the Cloud Riders idea, which I really like? I think it's a really cool idea. Or about
I would love any background series like that. They stick out to me as one because of even what you just already said, that bridging chapter in the novelization, which I didn't even know about. There's a lot to tell there. There's background characters in there. Enfys Nest references the woman, I think her mother, who wore the helmet before her.
Yeah.
Enfys Nest herself is clearly very young. So there's a story there. There's just a lot of stories there. I think it'd be really cool. It'd be good as an animated show or a live action show or
Matthias.
movie.
I'd like an animated show set in either in the middle of episode 1 or 2, 1 and 2, or episodes 2 and 3. So either the height of the Republic or the Clone Wars, that would focus on Jedi that we don't know as much. That's interesting. So I feel like we did get quite a bit of that in the Clone Wars. I mean, to say we got that in the Clone Wars is not really doing it justice, because we got an Ayla Secura episode here, or a Kit Fisto episode there, or and an Even Peel episode there. It would be interesting. I know there was an animation done about Plo Koon finding Ahsoka as a young girl, and we could see that. We could see that story. I know there's a whole story around that. What do you think about that, Jacob?
Yeah, I think that would be a great idea, Matthias. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Sorry. Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. I think it would be interesting to explore the politics of the Jedi Order, why they're kind of caught blindsided. Is it a management type problem, or what's going wrong in the Jedi Order that makes them so vulnerable to and so blindsided by Palpatine?
And I'm pretty sure if we get in a galaxy, we've discussed that. We've really drilled into that topic, because we were covering a lot of the prequel era stuff, and I think Jacob, you even wrote one of your questions around that, didn't you?
Yeah.
So
I'd love to see any of that. I'd love to see any Kit-Fisto, any from the Jedi Council. Give me an Oppo Rancisis spinoff show. I would watch an Oppo Rancisis spinoff show for sure. But I have to go now, guys. I just wanted to pop in.
All right, thank you so
much for
do some comments. Someone else pop in when I leave.
Yeah,
all right, see you guys later.
See you later.
I did.
That was cool.
And
that was
Adam
really awesome.
Says
Thank you for that.
Enfys Nest would be a great character to explore separately.
And
Quinlan
super
Voss.
Quinlan Voss. I really want to see. So here's the thing: in Legends, Quinlan Voss survived Order 66.
He did, really. What's the story there?
He hit on Kashyyyk, basically.
Is Legends when he has the story where he falls in love with Asajj Ventress? Or am I misremembering that?
That's canon.
That's canon, really.
That is actually canon. But Quinlan Voss, I was just thinking, would be interesting because he might how do I say it? Quinlan Voss might have survived Order 66 again, and if he did,
really?
That
he doesn't have a confirmed death.
And in Legends, he hid out with his wife and son. Now he fell in love with Ventress in Dark Disciple, but Ventress died, so it'd be a much darker ending. Not only are all his friends and the Jedi gone, but now the love of his life has died.
Is that the is the Legends ending the one where Asajj Ventress is like a cyborg or something with the Battle of Botha Wui?
That's, I think, Legends.
Okay. Dan says, I would love to see an animated version of Shadows of the Empire.
That would be interesting. That would be really cool. Shadows of the Empire, for those who don't know, is a multimedia project very akin to actually the modern equivalent would be The Force Unleashed. They did that with The Force Unleashed about 20 years later. And it helped explain the events between The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi.
And when was it created?
Like late 90s, I think.
Late 90s, wow.
And they had
kind of right when the okay.
And they had like it was a only story without that Royal Farm Boy just said only story without a film. That's exactly how it is. It's like everything but a film. It was a video game, it was a book, it was and no TV show, but like video game, book, soundtrack. Yeah, I was about to say, Dan, a soundtrack.
Yeah, that's crazy.
There was all of it, and it's focused on around basically they're like, oh no, we can't have Han Solo, so we'll just have Han Solo, but not Han Solo, and so they made Dash Rendar, and his ship, the Millennium Falcon. sorry, Outrider. But let's be clear, it's kind of like
So you think it's like a Han Solo stand-in, or
it's
in the same vein?
He's in the same vein as Solo, and it's about their dealings with there's this guy, you've probably heard of him, Prince Shizor. Prince
Shizor, he's the crime lord, correct?
Yeah, he's like Jabba the Hutt, but better. But the Empire doesn't really like him. And he doesn't really like the Empire, and so they're constantly he runs Black Sun.
Thank you, Rural Farm Boy.
Thank you for that.
That's what,
and the Empire doesn't like him, and he doesn't like the Empire, but they're like, oh, we both hate Luke Skywalker, so let's work together. That doesn't work out for long because they had some disagreements, and I'm pretty sure Shizor just gets absolutely busted and orbitally bombarded by the Empire.
Is Shizor in the canon Black Sun, the one that Maul and Savage takes over?
Red 5 Mom, Kanata's Castle. I think Prince Shizor did actually want to. I mean, he was trying to seduce Leia. I know that. I'm not sure Mary was in the game for her, but I do know seduction was in there because his species, the Folly, had naturally seductive powers. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. It would be interesting. I have a feel it's one of those stories that like I never really got into, and so I only know like the visceral like outside details about it. This yielded a lot of discussion. Jacob has a bunch of other questions too.
Yeah, do you think we should move on to the next question? See if we can get some more,
go ahead. Pick any one of your questions.
All right. So one thing that I've been thinking about recently is the legacy of the Old Republic and the Old Jedi Order. In The Last Jedi, Luke Skywalker says something along the lines of the legacy of the Jedi is failure. So Eli and anyone in the chat, if anyone wants to step up and give their take, let's have a conversation. Is the legacy of the Jedi Order and the Old Republic, is it a legacy of failure? Is Luke right or is he wrong? Eli, what do you think? I will say,
we recorded a backup episode of In a Galaxy that we're going to post pretty soon. We recorded it on Thursday, and Jacob asked this exact same question. And I'm going to reiterate my answer, which is that the legacy of the Jedi is not failure. The legacy of the prequel Jedi is failure. The legacy of the Jedi as a whole are a bunch of people... Wow, my lighting's going nuts right now. A bunch of people who just want to help.
Yeah.
You know, are they good at helping? Sometimes yes. Sometimes not so much. But do they want to help? Are they interested in the common good? Hands down.
Clearly, yeah.
Luke was feeling a little salty in Last Jedi. And, you know, he had the right to, you know. He had been betrayed. He hadn't been betrayed by Ben Solo. He just, like... He had honestly been betrayed by himself. He regretted turning his lightsaber... He regretted turning his lightsaber on Ben. And he was not feeling too good on the Jedi at that point because, you know, what path had they led them in down before?
Yeah.
Adam said, and it's worth to remember that there were 1,000 years of peace before the fall of the Order. Yes, very good to mention. Also, there's that line from Kenobi in New Hope. For over 1,000 generations, the Jedi Knights were guardians of peace and justice in the Old Republic before the Dark Times.
I think that brings up...
1,000 generations, that's like, Legends interpreted that literally to mean 25,000 years where the Jedi existed. And so...
Yeah. I think that brings up...
either way you swing it, you know.
I think that brings up a good point, which is that I think that the Jedi were... maybe the reason that Luke is saying that is because the Jedi... Like they said, they had a lot of... They were great in the peacetime, but they weren't so great in the wartime because that wasn't really their job. That wasn't really what the Jedi Order was meant to do. And I think that maybe some of Luke's feelings that the Jedi are failures is that they tried to be maybe too closely tied to the Republic. Maybe maybe too much of like the warrior type, like when Mace Windu says the Jedi are keepers of the peace,
yes, not
castle. Soldiers.
Yeah, absolutely. I will say also there's that line from Attack of the Clones. I think you actually just mentioned it. Mace Windu, we are keepers of the peace, not soldiers. Yeah, yet by the end of that movie, they're already soldiers. And so they saying that the legacy of the Jedi is failure kind of minimizes just how powerful Palpatine was.
Yeah, Palpatine knew what he was doing. He knew that dragging the Jedi into the war would cloud their vision.
I was gonna go. The legacy of the prequel Jedi is failure only because Palpatine orchestrated it that way.
Yeah, and I think while there were definitely some underlying problems, like the Jedi clearly had a lot of hubris, but Palpatine, I think he knew what he was doing, and he used that he used the Jedi's hubris and I guess the Jedi's sense of complacency, which is pretty apparent in the prequels and the Clone Wars. They're kind of sitting back like, oh wait, Maul, that's impossible. There hasn't been a Sith in 1,000 years. I think he uses that to kind of blow the door wide open and completely destroy the Jedi.
And I find it interesting that the first Jedi to really realize, like, the first Jedi in the prequel trilogy that doesn't actually die in the prequel trilogy to really realize how... Not that doesn't actually die. Besides Qui-Gon, who's always a maverick and always, you know, went against the Council. The first Jedi who really figured this whole thing out, or at least started to in Attack of the Clones, is Yoda. And it's weird to me that he figures it out that soon, but it's also weird to me that he doesn't figure it out until then, because, you know, when Yoda was born, the Jedi were 100 years off from their last war. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, you know, so that, I mean, I don't think Like,
That was
100
the,
years is a long time, but like I still think
Reformations.
I still think the Jedi were reeling from the aftermath of that war. But none of the Jedi at the
Yeah,
time of the Clone
politically.
Wars, except for Yoda, were anywhere close to that other war. And
maybe that's where the hubris comes from, because we're just everyone was just accustomed to peace. They took it for granted that the Republic was.
Even Yoda, it's all Yoda knows.
They took it for granted that the Republic was
at least
like a functional government.
And like, it's gonna be interesting how the High Republic shifts that. When we're talking about the Jedi and we're talking about all of that, I immediately think High Republic, because we see in the High Republic that things are not peaceful.
Yeah, they're
not. The Nile are going around and messing stuff up for people and wrecking hyperlanes and all of that stuff, and we're like, oh. So, I mean, they're not fighting the Sith, and will they ever fight the Sith in the High Republic? I highly doubt it. But are they at peace? No, I don't think so. And yet, there's the first book of the High Republic is called The Light of the Jedi. So there's that. Are they at peace or aren't they at peace?
Yeah, definitely.
Any thoughts? Any hot takes? Any opinions about this or about anything else in Star Wars? Grab a spot or go in the chat. They were entrenched in dogma too, and actually were not as open-minded as they appear to be. I agree with that. Like in Legends, and I think this. I'm not sure if this would be in canon, but I'd like to see them add this to canon. Thousands of years before the prequels, the Jedi were allowed to marry.
Really?
And in Legends, in Luke's New Order, the Jedi were allowed to marry. Luke himself got married in Legends. Yes, they were allowed to. Mara Jade, yeah. And it was only with the prequels where they center themselves in the code and the law. Yes, Luke had a son, who he named after Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan knew Luke longer than Leia and Han combined. I'm not criticizing the sequels. I just think it's a little strange how they named their son Ben, despite knowing Obi-Wan for the collective amount of an hour. Just saying. Not an hour, like a day. Anyway. But what I was gonna go with was
maybe it was because that Leia knew from her adopted mother and father
how important.
Yeah, how important he was. Maybe. That's just a theory. I don't know.
That's just a theory. And what I was gonna say about the marriage thing is like the Jedi. The Jedi were so centered in their own code, and you must obey code, must do that. We see that even beyond the marriage thing, we see that with the trial of Ahsoka Tano that might be 5. That was one of the best example of it. Them. And then their subsequent treatment of Ahsoka in season 7. The subsequent treatment, the citizen thing from Mace Windu in what is that? Phantom Apprentice? Shattered? No, not Shattered. It was either, I think it was Phantom Apprentice. Their treatment of Ahsoka, yes, they got lost in the code, as Adam is saying here. They didn't focus on, they didn't focus on the right things.
Yeah, definitely.
Do
you have anything to add to this? Okay, go on.
It's interesting. I was just gonna go with. It's interesting. I used to watch a lot of those Versus series, Evan Nova 95, Gen Star I1, on YouTube. And what was interesting to me is they often talked about how the Jedi of the prequel era were some of the best at lightsaber combat. Why? Because they were in the middle of a war, but also because they had lost their way in that way. Because the Jedi of that era are best in lightsaber combat. The lightsaber. The one weapon that they're not supposed to use that much.
Yeah.
They're not warriors. And yet, you have lightsaber masters, Mace Windu, Anakin Skywalker, Kit Fisto in the prequel trilogy because they were in wars. Kit Fisto dueled Grievous to a standstill. Anakin dueled Dooku and Ventress more times than I can count. Kenobi dueled Grievous and Dooku and Ventress just like so many times. Mace Windu even got in some action against Ventress, and I think against Ventress, not against Dooku or Grievous, but like, you know, they were lightsaber masters because they had to be, because they were in the middle of a war. Interesting. Matthias says that maybe Ben was not just from Kenobi.
Good point. Yeah, it could have been someone else completely. We're just assuming,
but actually, I just realized something, which is there's this thing in the Rise of Kylo Ren comic where I think Ben Solo says explicitly to Snoke that he was named after Kenobi.
Really? Okay.
I think so.
Adam is saying, I love the concept art for High Republic so far. The regal attire of the Jedi shows itself the differences where the priorities lie in the generation versus the more field-ready attire of the prequel Jedi.
They do describe the Jedi as they say the Jedi Knights of the Round Table. There's an Arthurian feel to it. There's a very like, oh, we fight for justice, and we are trying, like, they're acting more go with the flow than the Jedi are. The Jedi are like, must protect Republic, must keep peace by protecting the Republic. It all comes down to protecting the Republic. The High Republic Jedi, it seems like it's always keep peace, keep light alive, keep hope. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that it makes sense. But also it kind of that throws me a little bit. You're right, bringing up the artistic differences of the way the Jedi are portrayed and what they're wearing in the High Republic, at least in what we've seen so far, because that kind of goes against what was being I guess the implication in the movies and a lot of the media is that the Jedi, right before the Clone Wars, during the Clone Wars, I guess right before the Clone Wars, were at the peak of their arrogance and kind of the peak of their hubris and complacency. But maybe that's not the case. It's definitely interesting. Their attire did change a lot. Red 5 Mom says they seem to be able to be more individual, less collective. Red 5 Mom, do you mean the Jedi in the High Republic or the Jedi in the prequel era?
I think they mean the Jedi in the High Republic, which I agree with. It does seem like, you know, like, I wonder if, like, in the High Republic, the Jedi are the Jedi Council are in as much control as they are in the prequels. Because I wouldn't be surprised if they aren't. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if a Jedi goes up to the Council and says, "Hey, I felt to the call of the Force here. Can I go investigate?" And the Jedi Council are like, "Sure, yeah, go ahead." The Jedi Council of the prequel trilogy would never do that because, you know, they answer the Republic. That's their thing, you know. Adam Gosling, which is how Luke ran his Jedi Order Council in Legends. Yeah, I didn't expect to be talking so much about Legends today.
Me neither. But this is awesome. I'm loving where this is
great.
going.
I'm loving this. Maybe we go to the next. By the way, Jacob and I, just disclaimer, we like Legends, but we're both big canon people too. You know,
I love them both. I love them both.
I love them both. Jacob and I, on one of our opinion segments, we're making it into smaller segments. We actually did a question canon or Legends. I think Jacob sides with Legends and I side with canon.
Yeah, that's weird because I feel like when we first started having these discussions multiple years ago, it was kind of flipped.
Okay, we got half.
30 minutes.
I knew more about Legends. Yes, thank you about that.
Okay, so maybe we should move on to the next
I knew more
topic.
about Legends when we first met than you did, I think.
I think you still do, but I don't know. I just find myself enjoying it more nowadays.
Yeah, there's things to love about both. Let's go on to our next question. What do you say?
All right. Is it your turn or my turn?
That was your turn.
Oh yeah, it's your turn. Okay.
You did the conversation about the Jedi. I wouldn't go near that because we already covered that like so much. Here's one I came up with like 20 minutes ago. Not 20 minutes ago. It was like an hour ago. That I loved. It was when I came up with it, I was like, oh, this is a good question. Star Wars it has many themes to it. One of those themes is friendship. And you know, there's a lot of stuff in Star Wars about friends becoming friends, friends breaking as friends, you know, all that stuff. So I'd like to know in the chat, and you can grab spots as always, of course. What is your favorite Star Wars dynamic duo? Like for me, for example, I love Finn and Poe in the sequel trilogy. I was really rooting for them to get together as our first like real main film LGBTQ plus relationship in 9. I'm disappointed that they didn't.
Or even that they didn't get more screen time together in general. Even if they're if they're just friends, if they're in a romantic relationship. By the way, like those actors,
we
got
some stuff. We got the general thing, general in the Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
We got a lot of that good stuff, and Poe as as his first thing for the first thing he does after he's promoted to like basically in charge of the Resistance is like, okay, Finn needs to be there with me. But I love there's that scene in the TIE Fighter beginning of 7. It's nice job, Kanata's Castle. R2 and 3PO.
Of course.
I thought this might come up, and go that way. You'll be malfunctioning in days, you nearsighted scrap pile. My terrible C-3PO impression there. But yes, I will concur that C-3PO and R2-D2 are like, they're up there with all the Star Wars dynamic duos. Where they're the first one we saw. There's that touching one. I know I'm referencing Rise of Skywalker a lot, but there's that touching scene. I do want to tell you, you've been quite a friend, R2. My best one, in fact.
Wow.
Which was just so touching. Anything about R2 and 3PO before we go to the next one I'm seeing right now?
They might have one of the longest standing relationships in Star Wars, beside at least on screen. Maybe Yoda and Chewbacca probably go back further, but we don't know for sure.
Yeah, they have one of the longest ones, and of course we have Han and Chewie.
Of course.
And yeah, Han and Chewie's a classic. I remember, everyone was talking about Leia's reaction to Chewie's death in Rise of Skywalker. Not Leia's reaction to Chewie's death, sorry. Other way around. Chewie's reaction to Leia's death in Rise of Skywalker. But what I kind of resonate more with, that's great, but I also love Chewie's reaction to Han's death in Force Awakens. There's that growl, and then he just pulls out his his bowcaster and just shoots Kylo Ren, and Han
so crazy.
and Kylo feels that bolt, like, you know what I mean? He feels it because it's out of absolute that there's that moment. I was just thinking about this morning. In the Star Wars holiday special, I didn't think I was going to be bringing this up, but there's that moment. We got to bring this up. If you haven't seen it, look up Han Chewie awkward hug Star Wars holiday special. Your mind will just melt because so many things are like there are so many things that are awkward in that, but that's just a really weird one. There's a really weird awkward hug with Han and Chewie and in the holiday special.
Yeah. But Rural Farm Boy,
yeah.
Says Cassian and K-2SO. Another great duo. I thought one of the best moments in the movie was when he slapped him. That was pretty funny. That was improv, wasn't it?
That was improv. Diego
Luna had to cover his face to keep from laughing.
We are taking them to imprison them
in prison.
When you gotta hit that maximum word count. Is that meme? My thing with Cassian, in K-2SO is that my thing is like jury's still out on them because of the Cassian series. Alan Tudyk's been signed on.
Yeah,
we're gonna see K-2SO in Cassian. I guarantee you. I wasn't crazy. This is one of my more unpopular Star Wars opinions. I'm not a huge fan of Rogue One myself. I've never been a humongous fan of Rogue One, and there's that line in have you watched? I'm sure you've watched it, Jacob, but maybe you haven't watched it in a while. There's the line from the honest trailer for Rogue One. The droid with more personality than any of the human characters.
Oh man,
which
that's a little bit of
honestly,
that's a jab.
it's a jab, but it's kind of true for me. It's like none of them really have personality for me. I never really got much out of Jin or Cassian or Baze or Bodhi. I got stuff out of Chirrut, but like, you know, quick side, either of you familiar with the radio dramas?
Star Wars
Not
radio
much,
drama.
actually, no.
You know, I think I might.
Oh no, he's about to pull out something. Oh,
Is
here
this
we
what
are.
you're talking about? I've listened to part of it. I haven't managed to finish it, but I actually found it at my grandparents' house.
Oh, that's great. That's incredible.
I have here. Let me go get something.
This was
Pretty
our quick dressing of. We had quick. I can pull out some Star Wars stuff too. I have it in the background myself, but yeah, he's pulling out the stuff.
I got also 2 of them on tape, so I don't have any way to listen to these, but they're a really cool thing. Yeah, my grandparents gave them to me because I was like, what are these?
Oh, that's
like,
awesome!
Home, listen to them.
That's incredible! Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, touche there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Cassian and K-2, it's jury's out on this one because of the Cassian series for me.
Yeah.
I think they're good so far. And you know, yeah. What else? That was a.
I'm trying to think. I have kind of a. Well, it didn't. I don't think it's ever appeared on it. I know it hasn't appeared on screen actually. What about Thrawn and Eli Vanto in the canon Thrawn books that came out a couple years ago? They were a pretty cool duo.
Interesting one.
They had kind of
a lot of people. I've read all 3.
They had kind of like an interesting relationship because it wasn't so much just like a friendly friendship like Han and Chewbacca. It was kind of this like, it was kind of a weird.
Thrawn's always a weird character to deal with socially.
Yeah, it felt like a weird kind of touch and go.
That's the thing about Thrawn is he's so smart that his one weakness has to be that he just does not know what to do socially.
Yeah, but I guess like Eli, yeah, it's a mentor-apprentice thing. What's interesting, yeah, it's a professional, as Adam says, professional relationship in a way, but they look out for each other on a personal level. Yeah, I think it's interesting because ostensibly you'd think that Thrawn is the mentor, and to some extent he is, but then Eli Vanto is also the mentor because he's talking about he's kind of trying to help guide Thrawn through the politics of the lower levels of the Empire,
Imperial
especially.
culture, yeah.
Yeah, because that's Thrawn's weakness.
And you see, at the by the time of the end of Thrawn, the first book, at the end of Thrawn doesn't need Eli around as a translator.
Yeah, he doesn't.
He understands basic just fine. Why does he keep him around? Because Eli's learned so much from him, and he can be a very helpful ally in capturing Knight. What's name? Knight what?
Which book of the trilogy?
First one. Thrawn. Knight Shadow. I'm gonna look it up right now.
I can't remember. It's been too long since I read those
Thrawn
books.
book villain. Night Shade. I think it might be Night Shade. Anyone in the chat? Let's see.
No, those books were great though. Those books were great.
Actually, Signy. Signy is his real name. Wait, nope, that's not what I'm Signy Thrawn.
My brain's leaky too, Red 5.
Yeah. Neville Signy. Night Swan.
Night Swan. There we go.
There we go. Finally.
Yeah.
Yeah. I found it really interesting. Matthias.
Yes, Zeb and Kallus. Matthias, thank you, Zeb and Kallus. They had so much potential. I'm very sad that Okay, we won't
Jacob's
spoil it.
the huge Rebels fan of us. I love Rebels.
I'm a huge Rebels fan.
Jacob's
they were
the huge Rebels
very good pair with different personalities. Exactly. I'm really bummed that we didn't get to see more of them. I thought that we were going to get to see
I'm out. Just
some
go.
of Agent Kallus. I thought that we were going to get to see some of Agent Kallus in in a Disney show, Disney Plus show. Yeah, what if they
the
were
Rebels
worked
sequel
into the
show?
Rebels follow-up show that is
Yeah.
supposed to be coming? That
yeah,
would be
I think
that would be awesome. Yeah.
According to people at Kessel Run Transmissions, who are usually pretty accurate about stuff, they predicted Bad Batch months before it came out through their sources. They say it's coming, and I think it is coming.
They're right.
I think Filoni set up the end of that show wanting to tell more, wanting to show more. I've had I've had like a headcanon in my head about the first episode of that show, and it's just like the Star Destroyer coming out of hyperspace to Scylla, which is the Chiss planet, and everyone and the Chiss patrol's looking at it, and Ezra finally waking up from, like, he probably got knocked out by the hyperspace jump, and he just wakes up and he goes, "What's going on, guys?" And then it flashes the title screen.
Yeah. Matthias, yeah, exactly. If we got the two shows, that would be awesome. Another potential duo that I would love to see more of that kind of got set up is Sabine and Ahsoka after Return of the Jedi. That could be great.
Season 3 or 2.
Two of my those are two of my favorite characters.
I think Ahsoka's in 2. I'm not sure if Sabine would be in 2.
In The Mandalorian?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think it has the potential for season 3.
Yeah. I was hoping for an animated show because we see that Sabine kind of has, like, is kind of defined by, like, her, in Rebels, she's defined partly by, like, her rebelliousness and her kind of, like, the youthful qualities, because she's pretty much, like, in her late teens where she's, like, she's rebellious, irreverent.
My thing is, if we see Ahsoka in
it's like, how does that play out when she's a little older, like, mid-20s, late 20s, you know? That would blow me away. Definitely, and I can never, like, the fandom can't seem to get enough of Ahsoka, like, favorite character.
No, she Ahsoka's been. I think Ahsoka's in 2. I'm not sure about Sabine, and my thing is Kanata Castle. I was just about to get to that, actually.
Oh my gosh, if Ahsoka met Luke, that would be mind-blowing. That would be amazing.
I think.
Thank you, Red 5
there's
Mom.
a decent chance, and I hope this is happening. I think season 3 of The Mandalorian, we have a good chance of seeing Luke. I think it would be really cool if we saw Luke in Mandalorian season 3, because it would be great. My thing is, like, in season 2 we get Ahsoka and Boba Fett. In season 3 we get Luke, Sabine, and Ochi of Bestoon, but that's the first one.
Ochi of Bestoon.
No, seriously, they could work it in a really interesting way, but
that's true. They probably could.
I digress. Yeah, that's 2 right now. That's 2. We got it. We're doing good.
Yeah, it's funny. We kind of loop back around to talking about shows that we want to see.
This is how Star Wars is connected in all those ways. It's great.
Definitely.
Yeah. Let's see. What else do we got? Let's go to another question.
Another topic. Okay, 15 minutes. Thank you, Dan. All right.
Yeah. Actually, I like one of your questions. I'm asking one of your questions if you don't mind.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Go for it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually combining a question that I prepared and a question that you prepared.
All right, go for it.
I prepared a question which was, what Star Wars character should get their own movie and why? And you said who's the most underappreciated Star Wars character.
So we can kind of let's combine those.
So we can combine those. Like, what underappreciated Star Wars character can get a movie? Now, I'm going to forbid myself from saying the obvious choice for me, which is Ochi of Bestoon. But I'm gonna forbid myself from saying that, and I'm going to go with you know what I really want to see? We got a bit of this in the Rise of Kylo Ren comic, and I really want to see more of this. Let's see Luke and Lor San Tekka.
Luke and Lor San Tekka. Lor San Tekka was the guy in the hut at the beginning of The Force Awakens.
Pre-Force Awakens, as seen as in the Rise of Kylo Ren comic, Luke and San Tekka went on a lot of adventures together.
They did,
searching
really,
for Force relics. And there was this thing in the Poe Dameron comic where he had this thing called there was this stone, I forget what it is called. The I'm gonna look this up. If anyone knows what I'm talking about, Lor San Tekka Poe Dameron stone.
What did the stone do? Why did they need it?
It represented the balance between light and dark. Future Eli here. I was looking up this on Wikipedia afterwards, and it is indeed called the Kazarath. So yeah, back to the episode.
Oh wow, that's a lot for a stone.
It's a very yeah. If anyone knows what I think it's called the Kazarath device. I might be making that device. I think it's called the I'm gonna look at on Wikipedia for the term Kazarath. I think that's what it's called. I'm not sure if anybody knows what I'm talking about. It's from the Poe Dameron comic. Wow, my thing is getting really laggy right now. Okay.
It's from the Poe Dameron comic. Do you want me to? Okay.
Yeah, it's from the Poe Dameron comic. I think it's called the Kazarath device. But anyway, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, Luke and Lor San Tekka searching for relics. We saw it also a little bit in the campaign of Battlefront 2, where Luke found that thing on Pilio.
The vault, like the Emperor's vault thing.
That vault on Pilio.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I'm not a real farm boy. I'm not a huge comic guy too. I just I hear stuff about the comics, and so I just kind of like.
I love the comics, but they're so complicated. Like I feel like I can't make sense of them. Like,
but
in my room, I have 2 different comics, and they're both called Darth Vader #1, and they're both canon. What is that about?
He gets the compass to find Octo. Yes. It's a hard name to spell. But anyway, Jacob, underappreciated Star Wars character that you think should get a series.
I don't know if this is about a character per se, but I would love, given that we've seen the success of The Mandalorian, I think a show about some old aspect of the Mandalorians, like in Legends of the Crusaders and the Neo Crusaders, or maybe like the rise of the peaceful Mandalorians. Like Rebels season 3. Stuff.
Tar Vizsla with the drawing thing that was really awesome, and
just like something like that. I think that would be cool. Mandalorians are awesome.
I think it would be really interesting. I think you're probably a bigger Mandalorian fan than I am. I'm a Mandalorian fan. It's just not what I'm crazy about. I'm crazy about like the if any of you know Alden Diaz, Octo Radio, what he calls the swords and sorcery aspect of Star Wars, which is like the Force stuff. But yeah, I can see some Mandalorians. Yes.
Red 5 Mom says the Jedi Mando connections would be a good story to explore. Wow, I didn't even. Yeah, you're right. You're totally right. The Jedi and the Mandalorian.
The first Mandalorian. Why did the Jedi? What?
Yeah.
Why did the Jedi
hate each other?
This would be a cool twist I'd like to see. So maybe it's revealed in the show. Maybe it's revealed in that maybe it's revealed in like the movie.
I will roll Farm Boy. I will.
Yeah, I'm. Maybe it's revealed in that movie. Maybe it's revealed in that movie or TV show that the Darksaber actually is not just like a ceremonial thing. Maybe it actually has special attributes to it. I think that'd be really cool. Like, yeah. What do you think about that idea of like the Darksaber having special attributes?
That sounds awesome.
Yeah,
that sounds like a great idea for me. 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
Thank you, Dan.
Thanks, Dan. Yeah. Anyone else grab a spot or talk about an underappreciated Star Wars character that should get their own movie?
I feel like maybe this. I don't want to derail the conversation. I feel like maybe movies. I feel like as we've been discussing, we've been more drawn towards shows. And I think maybe movies aren't the best format moving forwards, given the mixed results that we've had so far with Solo.
Maybe we'll change the question. Maybe we'll change the question.
Babu Frick.
Yeah, Babu Frick. We need a Babu Frick movie right now.
What about a planet full of like Babu Frick people?
And there needs to be a game. No, there needs to be a game with
a mini series, yes.
With the Babu Frick miniseries or movie. Either way, there needs to be a game where you take a shot every single time they say hey. And Zellens, is that what Babu Freak is?
And Zellens. Yeah, I think that's right, yeah.
Let's see. And Zellens. Yeah, and Zellens.
Diminutive. Yeah.
Yeah. We need
Or
to
what
see
about,
like.
What about what's the guy in the D Squad in the Clone Wars? Meeber
Oh,
Gascon.
Meeber Gascon. Very nice reference right
He's
there.
tiny, but he's like he has a big personality.
Him and Whack, especially in that first, him and Whack 47, especially that first episode, is hilarious. Zilkin, Meeber Gascon is a Zilkin, which I actually find hilarious because that's a Zilkin might be like a species of an alien from like a Star Trek or something like that. Interesting, a Squadrons type pilot show. A show about pilots.
Yeah.
Hey,
that would be amazing because
Red
I
5
have
Mom,
this comic.
Kanata's Castle. Not to derail anything and not to burst your bubble or anything, but I know we don't have something like completely about that, but Resistance, Star Wars Resistance is a lot about pilots.
Yeah,
and it's much better than everyone gives it credit for.
I think, yeah, we need more. Yeah, I think something that would be great would be like, what about a show about the rebels? Like, what about a show about Red Squadron or a show about some rebel or Imperial squadron where the main cast of characters is
like the Rogue Squadron, like the X-Wing books from Legends.
Yeah, or like I have this amazing Legends comic book. I can see it sitting on my desk. It's amazing, and it's all about like the dynamics of the crew members and them going on this important mission, and it's just fantastic. So I think something like that would be really great. It's like a good format to pursue.
Jacob and I were talking on a recent episode actually about Resistance that we recorded. We haven't posted this one yet, but we will soon. About Resistance, and Jacob was like correctly identifying, oh wait, this is one of the only Star Wars major things right now we have without Force users.
Yeah, so that'd be interesting. See it from the perspective of someone has no see like we've gotten glimpses of this, but really an entire show.
Where the magic is actually in the technology, not in the I'm very excited I'm very excited for Squadrons. I'm much more excited now than I was a couple months ago because Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga, which I'm more excited for, isn't interfering with it. But rip Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga. We're gonna have to wait till spring for that, which is sad. But the trailer was awesome, so I think it'll be worth the wait. Let's see. One final. I have one final question.
We have like what, 5 minutes? We have 5 minutes.
Yeah, we have 5 minutes. One final question, and Jacob, you're familiar with this question because I've asked it about as much as you've asked. What about the legacy of the Jedi? So I've asked it a lot, and I know you've had to put up with this question a lot, and I'm gonna ask it more because I love this question.
Okay.
I'd love to hear in the chat or grabbing spots either way about there's a famous quote by George Lucas in the making of Episode 1.
Again, it's like poetry, so if they rhyme, every stanza kind of rhymes with the last one. Hopefully it'll work.
And I love that. It's my favorite quote about the production of Star Wars by far because it happens so much. You know, we see there's so
like
many
the callbacks and
parallels
references
in not only just movies but TV too. You know, there's that scene in the Zygeria arc, with the slavery arc where Anakin does the wave to R2 like this. You know what I'm talking about, which mirrors Luke doing the same in Return of the Jedi. Wow,
I didn't even catch that. That's incredible.
Yeah. There's a video which is like a compilation of all of them, but I'd love to hear everyone in the chat or just your Jacob, one of your favorite it's like poetry, you know, it rhymes moments.
Yeah, that's an interesting. That's a good question.
The Jedi Temple, Sith Temple one you were gonna do you did the other day.
Yeah. Okay. So one of my favorite moments is when Ahsoka Tano leaves the Jedi Order originally in the Clone Wars. It's very sad, and we have the final shot of her walking down the steps, and her head disappears below, and she goes away, and it's really sad. And then in Star Wars Rebels, in the season 2 finale, after the temple blows up and you see a shot of Darth Vader walking out of the temple, and then in the background, if you look closer, you see Ahsoka, and she's kind of has a little bit of glowing white stuff around her, and she's walking down the steps deeper into the Sith temple. Clearly that doesn't mean she's going to the dark side. That's just self-evident in Ahsoka's character arc so far as we know it. But that really resonates with me because I grew very attached to Ahsoka by that point from the Clone Wars and from the season 2 of Rebels. So that was a cool moment for me, and I'm wondering, because we see that Ahsoka is reinducted, maybe not formally, but she considers herself a Jedi at least, because when Rey says I am all the Jedi in the Rise of Skywalker right before that
includes Ahsoka.
Yeah, we hear Ahsoka's voice. So maybe that has something to do with the first moment when she's walking down the steps away from the Jedi Order. Maybe after she gets defeated by Darth Vader, she realizes that she needs to go back to the Jedi. I don't know, but it's a great moment.
My thing about that is Ahsoka historically has been seen walking down a lot of things. You know, she walks down the steps of the
Well, you're right. The first shot we see of her when she's introduced to the story is walking off the ramp of the shuttle.
Walking down the ramp of the shuttle.
Like walking down the ramp. And then
we see that same thing happen again with Bo-Katan at the beginning of the Siege of Mandalore. Walking down the steps. And then she does it again with the Jedi Temple and the Sith Temple, right?
Yeah, and those are all like...
Plot twist. In Mandalorian Season 2, first appearance of Ahsoka is Ahsoka walking up something.
I don't know. I don't want it to sound like we're grasping at straws here, but I think
you might be onto really
something
cool.
there.
Ring theory moments. Ring theory moments. I love ring theory. The ring theory is the idea that Star Wars is connected like a ring. So not like 1 and 4, not 1 and 4, not 1, 4 and 7, and 2, 5 and 8, 3, 6 and 9, but 1 and 9, 2 and 8, 3 and 7, 4 and 6. And then I
Red
get
5
in there.
Can you give me... I'm not familiar with the ring theory. Can you give us some examples, maybe?
It was set up before the sequels.
It was
set up before the sequels, but I'm sure there was other, like...
Yeah.
Like, for example, in both 1 and 9, Palpatine does a significant deal to rise to power. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, he's kind of coming out. Okay.
Yep, we're getting time. There's one final example I was just thinking, which was that
1 minute.
There's both there's a temptation to the dark side in both 2 and 8, and destroying the dark side, but not actually, but with Kylo and Rey and
all right.
And Dooku and Anakin. But we gotta wrap up.
All right, we're wrapping it up.
Thanks everyone for coming to the panel. This was so much fun. This will be posted as an episode in a Galaxy on Friday. And so thanks so much, guys.
Yeah, thank you so much. Quick reminder, donate if you can.
Check out our Anchor link. Check out
donate
our Anchor
to the Make-A-Wish. Vocal is matching your donations. Yeah. Eli, do you want to drop the link in again? Awesome. Yeah.
Yep, we'll...
Donate. Check us out on Anchor.
Hello, everyone. This is a pre-recorded segment for In a Galaxy because of ForceFest and all of that stuff. We are pre-recording our this month for our weekly segment. One quarter portion. That will be synced up. Don't worry about it.
Sorry, my timing was off.
Don't worry, I wasn't giving you good signaling. Anyway, this
Doesn't
month,
matter.
September 2020, September, the month that some people are going back to school, work, and all of that kind of stuff. Work, all of that sort of thing. And this month, we're going to give you our Star Wars sort of recommendations and all of that stuff. The only rule for this, of course, we forgot to mention this last month, the only rule for this month is that the thing we're talking about cannot be released in the last 14 days to avoid spoilers and all of that kind of stuff. So, Jacob, you want to go first or want me to go first?
You go first.
Okay.
See what you got.
Here we go. So, in honor of, I wonder, the biggest thing coming out in Star Wars this year, in honor of The Mandalorian Season 2, my this month recommendation is Chapters 7 and 8 of The Mandalorian, called The Reckoning and Redemption. They're such good episodes. Both are directed by Deborah Chow and Taika Waititi. They're both such great episodes, and they really give a lot of clues as to what we could see in Season 2. and as to what we, it's about the quest of the Mandalorian and Cara Dune and Baby Yoda and Queel and IG-11 to help Grief Karga rid Navarro of the Imperial Remnant. And so that's my recommendation.
Awesome. So my recommendation is a little different. It is a Legends comic book.
Really interesting.
Yes, it's let's see. I'm trying to find the name. I have it here. It's in the It's in the Marvel Epic Collection, The Rebellion. I believe it's called In the Shadow of Yavin. I think it's also called it's just called Star Wars number 1, 2, etc. And it follows this Legends story of not only Darth Vader trying to track down Luke Skywalker, but Leia taking Luke and some other Red Squadron pilots and forming a secret stealth squadron that morphs later on into Rogue Squadron in order to try and find a spy and find a new home for the rebellion following the Battle of Yavin. It's really interesting. It is Legends, but nevertheless, I really enjoyed it. It just gives this great feel throughout it when they keep showing up at somewhere, and then the Empire will show up right a minute after. It just gives this amazing feel of how desperate the rebellion feels, to try and hide, and how fragile it feels. So I really like it.
Really quite interesting.
There's a lot of interesting stuff.
Yeah, I guess that's all for this segment of this month. We'll be back next week with our next segment for 1/4 portion.